Hello, everybody, and welcome to our send-off for the year 2022 here on Film Seizure. I am Jeff Harbuckle, joined as always by my co-host, my cohorts, my traveling companions as we go back in time to the year 1997 this week. First of all, there's Jason Oliver. Jason, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing well. Happy to be here. Happy to jump back in time.
Yeah, let's get in that time machine. Let's go in the Wayback Machine, Mr. Peabody.
To a whole quarter of a century.
And that's
We're
right.
gonna go back in time. In time. It's Huey Lewis.
It's Huey Lewis has joined us for this episode. Huey, how's it going? Chuck, more.
I want a new Chuck. One won't make me sick. All right. Yeah.
All
Hey,
right.
how are you?
That stopped dead somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
There was no slowdown to that. It just stopped, and you're like, okay, whatever. Hi.
Moving on.
So, like I said, this is one of our discussion episodes. We did that back in October for horror tropes. This is something that we might do. I don't know, every now and then, quite often. Maybe hardly at all. Maybe this is the only time we'll ever do this. I don't know. But
Spoiler: it's not the only time we're gonna do this.
Well, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah. But spoiler alert: it's gonna go great.
Okay. See, Chuck got drunk last night and took the time machine out and he's already knows what's going on.
He's already
here.
been in the future. Yeah, exactly. It's the dark Biff Tannen future or the
Yes. Where we're going, we don't need listeners. So let's do this.
Well, that's good.
That's basically right.
All right. So, so we decided we're 90s guys. All of our formative years happened in the 90s. I mean, we were so we thought, hey, 1997 is kind of an interesting year. We've already covered some of the movies from this year. Let's talk about 1997. Talk about what won the Oscars, what the movies that came out, what kind of and then just other conversations about where we were at this time 25 years ago. Ooh,
yeah,
this sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? I mean,
it does. It does sound pretty cool. So
yeah, exactly.
The Wayne's World. Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I was going to say, the first thing I wanted to say and ask you guys. I mean, Chuck and I were 20 years old in 97 for almost the entire year. Jason, you were for most of the year, 18, 17?
Yeah, I graduated from high school in 97. I turned 18 in May, so right in the middle of the year, basically. Yeah.
So where were you guys at kind of in life? Because, and the reason why I asked that is because, and Chuck's thinking real hard. We were just talking about how he misremembers everything. So this is going to be great. This is going to be a great story, guys. But, because some of that probably will inform some of our movie choices and the stuff that we were doing at that time. So whoever wants to go first, where were you guys at in 1997?
Well,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. All right.
I'll go.
You want to go? Want to go? I'll go.
Sorry, Jeff, you should pick someone. I was at Lowe's Theater.
So there you go. You're working in the movie business.
Yes, Greenwood, Indiana. So it informs anything about my choices is that I didn't have to make choices. I could just go see basically whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted that was coming out. You are somewhat selective, but man, you clean a theater, you see 5 minutes of a movie, or you're in there checking out what people are doing, you can get interest real fast. So I saw literally everything that we carried that came out that year. So my memory might not be great of it, but I saw a lot.
Were you able to go to other Lowe's like in Indianapolis to see
the
other? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a story about that I could share later at another Lowe's. But yeah, I also didn't date her at the time, but met my future wife at that job in 1997. Actually, dated her best friend at the time, but we talked all the time on the phone, Steph and I, and reconnected when I came back. So 97 is a pretty big year, I guess, for me, just in general. Just out of high school, just moved away from New York, but a couple of years anyway, moved away from where I'd lived my whole life, came to Indiana and worked at a movie theater. Okay. That's my story. Is that too much?
No. That's perfect. Jason.
I was also in Indiana. The first part of 1997, I had one friend, Mike.
He's the only friend you need,
and I guess Brian, but we're not friends anymore. But Mike was my buddy. I was finishing up my senior year, homeschooled. Womp womp. Finished in May of that year, maybe a little earlier. Might have been like late April. But
man, I bet you blew off that last semester. Just like I did in 95. I
mean, yeah, I don't
it's
even
probably
remember.
Easier from homeschool.
I don't even fucking remember. It was a joke. But I remember around this time I was kind of movie nuts already, but I didn't have access, right? So I remember I would buy movies at the music store a lot of times, right?
Oh yeah.
I remember buying like Usual Suspects, Sight Unseen. I bought it in that, and where you got the VHS with the movie and the VHS with the commentary. It was in a box set. Yeah, and it was a box set. It also came with a Zippo lighter. Like,
wow, you got like a special edition.
Verbal Kent's fucking lighter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember watched that shit on my own because my parents were kind of crazy about what we could watch in the house. So, and then I would also, this was around the time that Mike would ride his bike to the video store. He'd ride his bike to the Blockbuster in Greenwood, and he would rent something, and he'd come to my house, and we'd watch it in my basement, like late at night, on my little 13-inch TV combo, VCR TV combo.
That's
like
amazing.
One of the classic gems we watched was this Steven Seagal 1997 classic, Fire Down Below.
Oh, you've got that Fire Down Below.
Got that Fire Down Below. And Mike was like, I got this movie called Fire Blown Away. It looks awesome with Steven Seagal, and it was so bad. But then in that May, I got the job at the grocery store, and I met Chuck's brother, John. And John had access to a car, his mom's purple Nissan Altima. And we kind of bonded over movies, and we would go see fucking everything. We went to the movie theater almost every night. We went to the Dollar Theater. And we watched
the Cinemark.
The Cinemark. We watched everything almost that came through there. We rent movies, and we watched movies all like weekend or at night at his house. We just watched everything we could get our hands on. And then John ended up getting the job at General Cinema Quad that fall or so, because he left Meyer and started working at the movie theater, right? So then it was on, right? Like we were able, I think, sometimes to get in at Sony when Chuck was working. He would get us in, but then when John was working at General Cinema, there was no movie that was off limits to us, right? It was amazing, right? So we would see shit at Sony, and Chuck would get us in, and we'd see whatever we wanted at General Cinema. So, yeah, man, I'm looking through this list of 1997 movies, and I'm like, this is basically my whole year. I saw so many of these movies, so many of them. And then moving into 1998, when I started working at the video store with you, Jeff, a lot of this shit was then coming out on video.
Yep.
Like the more independent stuff was coming out in 1998, and I saw all of it. I mean, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, because probably by early 98 or by the spring of 98 or so, that was like when the little stuff like the Ice Storm was coming out on VHS, and that had a ton of critical push behind it, and I remember checking that out. Yeah. So Yeah, I mean, I guess, your story I guess that's a good segue into mine. I was at the video store, VH1 Video, and had been there for a couple of years already. And it's kind of funny because Jason, you had said that like 97 was kind of like, that was like your year for movies. Well, that was your year that you graduated. My year that I graduated in 95, that was like, man, I was seeing everything that summer, that spring, that fall. So yeah, it's like I get that too. But yeah, like in 97, what was kind of funny was I think by then, I think by 97, I had maybe gotten into, I had taken some college classes. I might have gotten into film school at that, or into the film class at that point. That might have been later in 97 or early 98, one or the other. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm renting stuff, or I'm taking stuff home from the video store every week. Like we always used to take home stuff like on the Monday night or Tuesday night or whatever before they release. As long as you could bring it back before the store opened or whatever. So I'm watching, it's like I worked on Monday morning putting everything together, and I took it home and I watched it, and then I came back in on Tuesday morning to open. And it's like, yeah, I got to watch, most things. And it was 97 was kind of an interesting year for me because it's like I always think about like, like the 95 movies and like the 98 and 99 movies, but I don't often think about 96 or 97. And then I started going back through the list of what was coming out, and it's like, damn, I saw a lot of these movies. I saw a lot of these movies, whether it was on VHS or otherwise. But yeah, this is, it's kind of funny that, it's like, I wonder where some of the movies that we're watching last year or this year or even next year, what they'll be like 25 years from now for people in their late teens or whatever, thinking, it's like, what did they watch? Were they watching a bunch of cheap ass movies on streaming services? Were they actually going and seeing, like the theatrical releases? Are they rediscovering stuff? Because one of the things, 97 was around the time that I was really getting in and watching almost every one of those Universal Classic horror flicks, because they had all been essentially re-released in the mid 90s or so. So like I was kind of picking up on a lot of different stuff. So, but yeah.
You were breaking up for me there, but what were you watching? Sorry, real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking about the Universal Classic Monsters had.
Oh, yeah.
By 97, I think almost all of those movies had been re-released on VHS in the collection.
Gotcha.
So, I was like watching a lot of those mixed in with the newer stuff. So I was like, it was kind of a whole education thing. I was like getting into some older stuff, seeing how that would translate to more recent and current stuff. It was, it was good times. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't just waiting for stuff to come to the video store. I mean, I was, it's like, I didn't typically work on Fridays. So, and if I did, I worked in the afternoon or something, so I can go to the movie theater at night or whatever. So that was, I spent a lot of time at movie theaters at this time.
So, yeah. So, I mean, oh boy, I'm looking at. So what I did real quick before, I wish I had prepared more for this because I just haven't had a lot of time recently. But I did, as we were kind of preparing to start the episode, I went through and I created a couple lists real fast. And now I'm looking at the Academy Award nominations and I realized I missed a couple. Like freaking Contact came out this year, which I love. That wasn't on my list, but I put together kind of like quote unquote short lists of the movies that I would probably have to pick from to create some sort of top 10 for this year. And then a list of all the directors that made movies this year. And it's astounding. It really is. Like looking at some of these names. I mean, this is a year where Steven Spielberg made 2 movies.
Yeah.
Right.
And didn't get nominated for either.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one is on my disappointments list. So
yeah.
But Amistad, no, he wasn't nominated for that.
No, it got some nominations, but
sure.
He did. Yeah. but I don't know. I don't know how you guys want to do this, but I kind of just want to give our listeners a sense, if they don't have the list of 1997 in front of them, just a quick sense of how insane this year was. I'd like to just kind of read off the quick list I put together and then the list of directors that made movies this year. Is that cool?
Totally cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
It's going to be a little overwhelming, but it's wild.
Can we just preface it? Let's preface it this way. Titanic ruled the fucking universe this year.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is that it ruled the universe and it also ruled most of 98 too.
Yeah, it's insane. That's just if you're trying to get your like a foothold in what this year was, just think of where you were when Titanic came out. But
and one real quick thing I want to add, since you did bring up Titanic, it's important to note that 1997/98 was the last time that a major blockbuster ran that long and had that many number ones at the box office. I think it had something like 13 number ones at the box office or something like that. It was insane.
Well, that's the thing. Maybe before I even get into my list, the highest grossing movies you've got, of course, Titanic ruled, but there were some big movies this year other than Titanic. I mean, Lost World, as much of a disappointment as that movie might be, it made a ton of money. Men in Black was huge. Tomorrow Never Dies was huge. As good as it gets, like, man, that was massive, especially, based on budget.
Well,
crazy,
that was
crazy amount of money.
That was a massive date night movie. If you were tired of, well, I think it came out. Well, I don't know. I mean, it was like you got to take the lady to see Titanic, but if you were kind of tired of it or she didn't want to go again, you took her to see As Good as It Gets. It was a good date movie.
You sent the lady with her mom to see Titanic because that's what we saw at the theater. It wasn't men taking girls. It was 4 girls, 4 family.
Well, that was the repeat business. Yeah.
Well, that was the repeat business. I was there when
it opened. It was mostly females. Trust me.
Oh, sure,
sure. But I mean, my wife said she saw that movie like 7 times in the theater, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's insane.
That's like 25 hours of her life on one movie, and but it's like I admit it's like I had dates to go see Titanic, 2 different instances, several months apart.
That's a long time.
Other big box. You had as Best Friend's Wedding and The Fifth Element kind of round out the top 5. So a lot of
Jason,
comedies.
Say that again. You kind of froze a bit there.
I think he's still frozen.
Oh no.
So this would be a good time to remind our listeners that sometimes we record from home.
Yep.
And this is one of those episodes where we're recording from home. So internet issues will happen.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, what he's talking about in particular is, it's like you had, not only did you have like Titanic and Lost World racking up most of them. I mean, that was $2.4 billion worldwide gross just between those 2 movies. Men in Black added another 600 million. So I mean, like this was a big year, and I mean, even the 10th place movie was The Full Monty. That's insane for a little tiny movie like that.
Yeah, I remember like the groundswell for that.
Yeah,
that movie, it was nuts the way like The Full Monty just took off.
And it was a fun time at the movies. It was a fun movie.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I just totally lost internet.
No, that's all right. Yeah, we kind of continued the talk
I could
of these.
hear you guys. It was weird, but I couldn't. But everything else was frozen.
Oh, sorry about that. But anyway,
I can't believe Austin Powers wasn't even in the top 10. Was it?
The first one wasn't that hugely successful. It came out in early May, and I think right after that, The Fifth Element came out and derailed it at that point.
Nuts.
Its popularity came on video. That's another thing to remember that's another thing that I think a lot of people forget about movies that have kind of a pop culture, like, because Austin Powers, Fifth Element, Face Off, and Starship Troopers ended up on a little tiny list of mine that I called Pop Culture Hall of Fame, because those are movies that people of a certain age, particularly people our age, we will reference those types of movies or think of those types of movies often, even if we're not referencing it. And the thing is that only The Fifth Element was a success in the terms of mass success. Face Off did all right, but it wasn't a huge success. Starship Troopers didn't do very well at all. In fact, it got it was a butt of a joke oftentimes. And Austin Powers found its audience once it hit video later in the year. And that was, yeah. So sometimes, sometimes you find out that these movies that everybody has seen and everybody loves and everybody references weren't really big box office movies.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I saw that a couple times in the theater, but they didn't make any money off me.
Right.
I saw them in the theater too. Yeah. I mean, like, I saw everything. So, I mean, this is also a year where you had 2 P.T. Anderson movies. And you also had a Paul W.S. Anderson movie.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, that's another one where we have like Event Horizon is kind of one of those kind of creeping into the Pop Culture Hall of Fame, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because us 40s guys get into that one.
With P.T. Anderson, that's an interesting one because he made Hard 8 before he made Boogie Nights. But Boogie Nights was such a hit that it actually got Hard 8 distribution. So his debut came out after his sophomore effort, which is kind of weird.
Speaking of Boogie Nights, just because you brought it up, small anecdote. I joke with my wife all the time that was our first date because we actually went as friends to see Boogie Nights together, which would be a weird movie to see on a first date. But we weren't dating. We just went to see a movie together. And that's funny. We kind of bonded over that. The ridiculousness of that. It's not, you know what I mean? The ridiculousness of that movie. You leave it. That movie, just as to continue to the side, was like Pulp Fiction for me. When I walked out of the theater, I was kind of like, I don't see things the same in film anymore. Boogie Nights was one of those movies.
Oh, I was blown away.
I mean, all I could see forever and ever and ever after that is just giant cock. So
there were 2 things about that movie that were just constantly referenced by us, like kind of like friends, was You Got the Touch and Jesse's Girl. Like those 2 songs were given like brand new life by that movie. So good.
Oh, it's wild is it that they covered the Transformers song?
Yeah.
Well,
it's the best.
But the thing is that it was, I think, a song before the Transformers movie. I think Stan Bush had that song, and he was probably a recording artist for Scotty Bros, who provided the soundtrack for which Scotty Bros was Weird Al's. So, man, if you go back to that, I could go on a tangent there. But yeah, it's like when he started singing, I was like, oh my God, that's the fucking Transformers song. I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's awesome.
But man, all right. So I'm gonna single out just a couple lot of other movies that came out this year that I fucking love and still love. This is a little one, but we mentioned Kevin Spacey. I mentioned Kevin Spacey before. He had a hell of a year this year. He was in probably the best movie of the year, in my opinion, L.A. Confidential.
Yeah,
he was
that would have been my pick.
Another one of my favorite movies of this year, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Oh, that's a good movie too.
And he directed Albino Alligator, which is another great movie.
Albo Gator.
Albo Gator.
But Clint Eastwood also directed 2 movies this year.
Yeah,
he directed Midnight in the Garden of the Good and Evil and Absolute Power. Yeah.
I kind of liked Absolute Power.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
But you've got Jim Sheridan had The Boxer. You had James Mangold, a really early effort from him, The Breakdown with Kurt Russell. Great.
Oh, I like that movie. Yeah, that was a good thriller. Yeah.
Yeah. You had Kevin Smith's Chasing Amy.
Oh, I love Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
I know that there are. That was one I actually. Do you mind if we take an aside real quick with Chasing Amy? Because I know today there are some people who have issues with that movie. However, at the time that it came out, you were seeing a subculture that you weren't normally seeing, that you actually were kind of led into. Not only were these people like the comic book creator type, and they were kind of doing their own kind of slacking off sort of thing, but you were also being introduced like to other people from other cultures that weren't the typical people that you would see in movies. Was it Hooper X, the black guy?
Yeah,
is brilliant. It's a brilliant character where he's talking about how he has to present himself in a different manner for anybody to listen to him, and that's an interesting concept. And it's a concept I hadn't thought about before. 20-year-old Jeff wasn't used to those kind of ideas. And it was something you can embrace very easily. And while, yes, there are some things that play out in this movie that would seem not what you would do today in movies, for 25 years ago, it opened the door for some acceptance and some conversation.
Yeah, cool. I love that movie. I mean, it's on most days my favorite Kevin Smith movie. But then you've got, all right, so you had someone like David Mamet who had kind of a breakout year this year because he was a writer of Wag the Dog. He was a writer on The Edge, which is another killer thriller with Anthony Hopkins. Killer thriller with Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin in the woods. Great movie. He was writer on both of those, and then he directed probably a movie that would have been on my top 10 this year, Spanish Prisoner. Great fucking flick. I would recommend that to everybody in the video store because that came out in video in 98.
I remember.
I was recommending to anyone who would listen Spanish Prisoner and Suicide Kings.
That's right. Is that Ray Fiennes?
No. It's it's not Douglas Scott. It's
I'll look it up.
I can't remember his name. He's in everything.
My brother said we should cover that, by the way.
Oh, it's great. I just watched it again recently. Campbell Scott is the lead, and Steve Martin's in it too.
Yeah.
Great flick. But yeah, anyway, great year for David Mamet. And then you had a great year for Tupac Shakur. He had two really good movies, Gang Related and Gridlocked. One where he kind of played, I believe, kind of almost like a homeless dude, like drug addict with him and Tim Roth. I can't remember which was which. I think Gridlocked was the one where him and Tim Roth were drug addicts. And then the other one, Gang Related, was the one where him and Jim Belushi were cops. Both good movies. You had another one that probably would have been in my top 10. I know it would have been in your top 10, Chuck, but David Fincher's The Game.
I fucking love that movie.
Yeah. Hell of a movie.
It's a masterclass in build up in a film. It's amazing.
Super good.
Yeah.
We mentioned Ice Storm. We've covered Jackie Brown.
We will cover.
Right. Sorry.
Stay tuned.
We've already been in the future too because we've already recorded that episode.
David Lynch made Lost Highway. I mean, fuck. You've got comedies, like little under the radar comedies that we love, like Nothing to Lose and Orgasmo. Both were 97.
Yeah.
Prepare to meet your doom.
There's also the real surprise comedy for me in 97 that I thought, it's like, wow, this is actually a really, really, really well-made movie, and it kind of puts its lead in a different light for people, was Private Parts.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That beginning, once I saw that movie, I realized Howard Stern is more than just a shock jock who he's saying things. Yes, he's playing a character. Absolutely. He's not really necessarily the guy you always hear making the crude jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to mention two of my favorite comedies from that year. One, I guess you should consider this a comedy, Gross Point Blank.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
fucking outstanding.
I think we all three like that quite a bit.
Yeah. And one that I don't know, some of it doesn't hold up as well, but I still absolutely adore it is Liar Liar with Jim Carrey. That movie is hilarious.
Well, this was Jim Carrey at his very, very peak too.
Oh yeah, he had star power for sure. Yeah. That movie probably wouldn't have done as well without him in it. Yep.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he sells 80% of it.
This was also, we're in, the later part of the mid 90s. So the independent movie is big time going on right now, right? So you've got little independent movies that became quite popular and also launched careers, like Harmony Korine's Gummo. You had movies like Henry Full, House of Yes, Neil LaBute's In the Company of Men. All very, very good movies, but very independent. You had Greg Araki's Nowhere, great flick. You had stuff like Kiefer Sutherland made a little crime 90s smart crime thriller called Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, which is a great little flick with Vincent Gallo. So you had a little bit of that going on, right? I'm Waiting for Guffman came out this year. I mean, Christopher Guest, right? I mean, it's wild. It's just the diversity of this and the types of movies that the careers that kind of got launched this year. You had Eve's Bayou that came out this year, which is kind of like this landmark cinema, for black noir, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the very folklore. It's great. It's a great movie.
I'm guessing here, but wasn't Uly's Gold kind of independent too?
Yeah.
Small, and that
and Robert Duvall made a movie like The Apostle. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
The Apostle's pretty. The Apostle's good.
It's real good.
That's one of those movies where it's like, I don't know if you'll remember the movie, but you'll remember him as that character.
And Spike Lee's documentary that year too. Was it Three Little Girls? Was that?
Yeah, Tic Tac Toe on a Window came out this year too.
Yeah, The Postman.
Yeah, sure did. That's just a little film. Yeah.
I mean,
before anyone knew who Kevin Costner was.
Exactly. Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and then Adam McGowan's Sweet Hereafter. I mean, these are career launching movies, right?
Yeah.
It's
nuts. I would say Adam McGowan, his career launcher was Exotica.
I thought Sweet Hereafter was before.
Nope. Exotica was 94 or 5, yeah.
All right. Well, Sweet Hereafter got him.
Well, that was his bigger
got him
movie,
Academy acclaim.
Right. Yeah. But yeah,
Fair enough. Yeah.
I mean, let's not forget Cole the Conqueror with Kevin Sorbo. The Sorbs.
Whatever that disc thing is.
No, that's Kroll.
Oh,
in the early 80s.
Shit, you're right.
You went like 15 years in the past for that poll.
I did.
Jason got drunk and took out the machine.
I did. DeLorean went haywire. Yeah.
Cole the Conqueror was just a ripoff of Conan, written by the same guy who created Conan.
Yeah.
But anyway, there was one thing. There's something else I have on my notes here, real quick. That was a big freaking deal in the first part of the year, and that was the re-release of Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
And
that's right.
The special editions, no matter what you feel about them, it was a big deal. Like, this is one of the goofy things I do with my time, guys, but there is one subscription I have on YouTube. Every now and then I decide to watch one of the videos because it's just a collection of old commercials from like different time periods. And there was one that I watched, and it's like, oh, what's this 90s stuff? And almost every commercial was a tie-in of some sort to one of those Star Wars movies. And obviously we know now what that was really setting up. But that was, and Chuck, those were at your theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Those
were.
were probably bonkers.
So we had a promotion where you could supersize your popcorn. Like if you ordered a medium popcorn and a medium drink, if you could supersize them for a quarter or 50 cents, whatever the amount was back then, you got half the money. So the opening weekend of Star Wars.
Wait. Did you get half the money officially, or did you get half the money from
pretty officially, because
okay.
That first
Jason knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
officially. Yes. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that because that implicates other people too that I know. I think they might have been the ringleader as far as I understand.
Yeah, that's not. Let's just stop there.
Anyway, for real, honestly, I made $700 that opening weekend off of Star Wars upselling popcorn and drinks.
That's 1997 money too.
Yeah, on my check. Like
that's like $47 billion today.
It did erase it was almost like getting tips, so like whatever your living wage was kind of got erased by it. But there's only one release in the theater, and it came out the same year that was more people than that. I mean, it was insane. There were people lined up around the building. There were people, and we had a figure of Luke Skywalker that I kept one of for years, and then I sold it on eBay like 10 years or 20 years ago when I was poor. That people would come in constantly, like, do you have the Luke Skywalker? Do you have the Luke Skywalker? It was, the people go nuts over those Kenner toys.
Yep.
But we had a unique one or whatever, a rare one that everyone wanted. So yeah, it was wild. It was wild.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember, this is something else that we kind of take for granted. We can watch a new trailer anytime we want on YouTube when it's released. But remember when like there would be big movies that would have like a trailer that would come out, and you'd find out what movie that trailer was going to play ahead of.
Yeah.
And then the movie theater would have to say, basically, you can't just come and see the trailer and then walk out. You're going to interrupt the people who are actually wanting to watch the movie and stuff. But like that, but like Star Wars, like how big Star Wars is today does not match the intensity of finding out stuff 20 years ago or 25 years ago when things were coming out. And, it was like those re-releases were kind of a first time in our generation sort of thing. That was a big fucking deal.
I got to mention one other thing, because this is kind of huge for cinema, because Lucas made all sorts of demands of any theater that was going to show it, made you upgrade to his audio system. Like there's a lot of upgrading going on across the country in theaters just so you could play the re-release. It was DTX or whatever, I think, right? Whatever his THX, thank you.
Yeah, well, and to be honest with you, and it was a net positive in the long run.
Absolutely. It sucked for everyone that
right
trying to play the movie. But I remember we'd thread it through 4 platforms.
Yeah.
So it would be like everyone in theater A saw it, and then B would see it a second later or whatever. Like however long.
Interlocking.
Yeah, interlocking. Thank you. I don't remember the terms, but yeah, that was a huge deal that year.
Yeah, and I mean, so it's like I remember going to see something probably end of 96 or so, and they showed that trailer, and it's like it's a very memorable trailer because it's like it starts off with a itty bitty little TV, and it's like this was the for 20 years this is the only, or for whatever, this was the only way you could see Star Wars, and then like the sound and everything just like blew up in your face. That's the way 97 started, and then it ended with Titanic. We talked about just money pouring into theaters and into the maybe not so much the theaters, pouring into the studios.
All right, real quick, I'm gonna read a list of directors' names. And what's really kind of wild about this list of director names is how, not wild but sad, is how few women are on this list. Like looking at all the movies made in 1997, women directors were very poorly represented. That has changed so much
Yeah.
in the last 25 years. And I really want to point that out. It's not only just women directors, but directors of color. There really were not that many this year, but that has changed for the better in the last 25 years. But regardless, there are some heavy hitter names on this list, and I'm going to read them off. William Friedkin, Spike Lee, Clint Eastwood twice, Wolfgang Peterson, Kevin Spacey, Adam McGoyan, Jean-Pierre Jeunet, Trey Parker, Spielberg twice, Robert Duvall, Michael Moore, Paul Thomas Anderson twice, Jim Sheridan, Johnny Depp, Neil Jordan, Kevin Smith, Don Bluth, Richard Donner, James Mangold, Woody Allen, Wim Wenders, John Woo, Errol Morris, Luc Besson, Ridley Scott, David Fincher, Gus Van Sant, Harmony Korine, Noah Baumbach, Ang Lee, Frank Oz, Neil LaBute, Robert Zemeckis, Christopher Reeve, Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese, Curtis Hanson, Danny Boyle, Adrian Lynn, David Lynch, Costa Gavros, Barry Sonnenfeld, Casey Lemons, John Sayles, Guillermo del Toro, Gore Verbinski, Greg Araki, Kevin Costner, Francis Ford Coppola, Peter Hyams, John Milius, Wes Craven, Michael Ritchie, David Mamet, Paul Verhoeven, James Cameron, Paul Schrader, Oliver Stone, Barry Levinson, Jim Jarmusch, Michael Winterbottom, Christopher Guest, Takashi Miike, and Nick Cassavetes. All made movies in 1997.
And there was what's his name? Miyazaki made a movie that year too.
Yeah, that's by no means comprehensive.
Right.
I was just what I got like frantically typed out before we met. But that list is insane. I mean, you would never get a list that large of heavy hitters releasing movies in any single year anymore. It just wouldn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, it's funny. You mentioned underrepresentation of women directors, and I mentioned Private Parts. Betty Thomas directed Private Parts.
Yeah.
So it's funny. The last movie you would think would have gotten one of the few women directors was one of the movies directed by a woman.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're really just, it's like probably a dozen if you look through this list. It's nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
if that, honestly.
Yeah. Real quick, I'm going to there's two movies that came out in the summer that I think are two of the better movies for two different reasons. One is because it's just totally a well-rounded, really, really good movie. And the other is a good movie through strength of performance, particularly from the lead. That movie we'll start with here. Copland.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on my list.
Stallone, who's playing against type as this kind of rundown, kind of overweight, just schlub of was he a sheriff or just a cop?
He was, I think, a sheriff. That's the James Mangold film. Yeah.
Yep. And he's kind of getting, he gets kind of overrun by, I mean, it's the cast in it's insane. But like he's getting overrun by it's Keitel, isn't it? Isn't he the
Keitel, Ray Liotta, Robert De Niro. I gave you a chance and you blew it.
Yeah, and Robert Patrick's in it too.
Wow, Robert Patrick's in that too?
Yeah.
Got Ray Liotta and Robert Patrick in the same movie?
What? Right. Yeah.
Wait, Dollar Store Ray Liotta's in a movie with Ray Liotta?
Yeah.
Dollar Store Ray Liotta's in a movie with $5 Store Ray Liotta. But yeah, no, that's one of those movies that I think has long been kind of hanging out on a list for this program.
Oh, most definitely.
I mean,
we're
Sylvester Stallone is long overdue for some more attention on this show.
For sure. For sure.
I mean, we covered one of his brother's movies. We should probably give.
Well, another one on here that we haven't mentioned yet is Donnie Brasco.
Donnie Brasco.
I Die With You, Donnie.
That's a great movie.
It is. It is a great movie. Oh, and that was Mike Newell. He did 4 Weddings and a Funeral. He did a Harry Potter, I think, or a couple Harry Potters, actually.
Unbelievable Harry Potter.
Unbelievable.
Jeff, what was your second? You had a second movie, right?
Yes, I did. And I know Jason agrees with this. Chuck, I don't know what you think of this one, but Contact.
Oh, I love Contact.
Love it.
Yeah,
absolutely
fantastic.
Contact and Copland both. Oh, go ahead, Jason.
That oral history of Contact that just came out, I forget who put it together, is tremendous. Like, what a movie. It's just great. Yep.
Those are both movies. The two that you just mentioned are movies that at the time I wasn't all that excited about because they're both really slow burns. But I watched Copland and Contact years later and I love them both.
Yeah. And the thing is about Contact was that, they talk about the primer in that, where they had to figure out how to arrange the blueprints, to be, and it's kind of funny because Contact itself as a movie primed me for my intense distrust in a little bit in how we as a people would accept the information that we would receive from a possible intelligent alien species, but certainly how absolute bonkers religious people would be about it, and potentially dangerously so.
Oh yeah. Oh sure.
I mean, they would send a Busey in there to blow that shit up quick.
Like you mentioned earlier that you thought Gattaca was the best sci-fi movie of the year, but I think we're forgetting Contact, because I think Contact is the best.
I don't know. I think of Contact as something a little bit more than sci-fi. I think of it,
but it's sci-fi.
Well,
I mean, it's kind of
sure.
hard sci-fi, really, whereas Gattaca is more like
Star Trek sci-fi.
Yeah,
fantasy sci-fi or
sci-fi. Yeah,
sci-fi.
Gattaca.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess that's a good point, because also this was the same year that Empire Strikes Back was re-released, so maybe everything loses to that. So,
I mean, Contact is sci-fi like 2010 is sci-fi.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
It's grounded in realism, so it almost feels non-sci-fi.
Right. It's grounded in like a really personal kind of drama.
Yeah.
And goddamn, Matthew McConaughey as kind of the cool preacher was fucking great in that.
Yeah, he's really good in that.
It's pretty amazing how consistently awesome Matthew McConaughey is.
Yeah.
As much as he's often Matthew McConaughey,
right?
There's nuance to his roles, and Contact definitely is one of them where you get a side of McConaughey you haven't seen anywhere else.
Well, he's the deep thinker.
Yeah.
He
rolls his boogers in his finger when he's thinking, in that Mercedes commercial.
Right.
It's so funny. Matthew McConaughey is I feel like I love him as an actor, but everything outside of acting in movies, I find him really obnoxious.
I love him, man. I mean, he probably agrees with us on a lot of things, but he's very outspoken. He's a little bit like his fanaticism about Texas football and all that shit. I'm
gosh.
like, okay, relax your slacks.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
If he would like to buy in on a venture for his favorite NFL team, I'm all for it.
Nice. Yeah, there you go.
So
because the
there's
Commanders
one thing
could use a reconnaissance.
Right, that's right. Yeah. So it's so there you go. It's I know what he and I would talk about, but that's neither here nor there. No, Contact and Copland, along with L.A. Confidential, Good Will Hunting, Jackie Brown, Boogie Nights, those are top 10 movies for
stuff.
me.
Oh man, I forgot. Bill Duke. Bill Duke. He made Hoodlum this year. That was a bit of a misfire. It was a bit of a misfire, but it's pretty entertaining flick.
Yeah, I remember liking it. I saw that in the theater.
I did too.
Huh.
Noah Baumbach. Did I mention him? He made a movie this year. Like
you
nuts.
did.
You did.
Okay.
So there were some, let's talk about some misfires.
yeah, let's do it.
Because leading up to June, whatever it was, 20th or whatever, 1997, the whole world was Batman and Robin crazy. Then that day happened, and we all hated it. And we all hated that we even wanted to see it. And I saw it for free, and I wanted my money back. And I hated it so much. Talk about an absolute disaster of a movie. And I will take whatever anybody wants to throw my way as far as beef. I quite like Batman Forever. I at least like it more than Batman Returns.
I'm going to throw some beef at you.
Okay, throw some beef at me.
You correct me real quick, because I'm going to say that a line from Batman and Robin has been in my lexicon forever, but I feel like it's probably Batman Forever. Which one is it where Robin says, "Holy rusted metal, Batman"?
That's Forever.
Batman Forever. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's bad. Yeah. That's a bad line.
No, that's a bad line.
I've said it for ever.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's when they show up to take down Riddler and Two-Face.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
I got a misfire for you.
Okay.
As much as it pains me, Alien Resurrection. It's a misfire.
Yeah, it's
talk about taking putting the wrong person in charge of that movie. I like Jean-Pierre Jeunet. He's made some great fun movies, but this was the movie the first movie he made on his own outside of his directing partner, creative partner Mark Caro, and boy does it show. Because in my mind, Mark Caro was kind of like the darker side of their pairing, and Jeunet was more of the whimsical. And I don't think you want to lose the darker side of your pairing before you make an Alien movie.
No.
And it was goofy. It was just a goofy movie. Like I can enjoy it, for what it is. But
at least it's better than the Versus movies that come later.
Oh, it is, and man, it makes Alien 3 look like a goddamn masterpiece.
I was going to say they should have given.
And Alien 3 is a mess, but not nearly the mess that Alien Resurrection is.
Although there's two things about Alien Resurrection that I will always enjoy. One is the alien being sucked out of the little hole in the wall.
That was like the clone baby, wasn't it?
The little clone human baby thing. Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. And also, I mean, kind of sad, I guess, sort of, because it's like that thing is just living, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then of course, always Ron Perlman. You gotta love Ron Perlman.
Well, yeah, you had the other guy in that
Michael Wincott.
Well, Michael Wincott, but the guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, who was also in all the Jeunet and Caro films, like City of Lost Children and Amelie and Delicatessen. The little guy. I can't remember his name.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember his name either.
He's great in it. Like, honestly, Brad Dourif is great in it. Super maniacally creepy doctor.
Right. But he's kind of, yeah.
I mean, it's got a great cast. It's just, it's not the sum of its parts is soup.
it's the soupy bits that went out that window when the alien got blown out.
Yeah. So that's one of my misfires. What you got one, Chuck?
Oh gosh, Jeff probably has another. So
I definitely have another, but we'll go back to Jeff.
Okay, go back to me.
I'll just comment on your misfires if I have a comment.
Okay.
Spawn.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
Oof.
Yeah. Boy, but 18-year-old me loved the fuck out of that soundtrack. Oh my God.
It was no The Crow, but it was all right, I guess. But here's the thing: you got the right guy in the part, and I don't even mind John Leguizamo playing the clown.
Yeah.
You got a lot of the right things going, but you can tell that they were pulling every single punch because they couldn't be R-rated.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So boo on Spawn. Watch the HBO show instead. That came out at the same time.
One that I thought was a misfire at the time, but I no longer think is a misfire.
Go for it.
And this is going to bring an honorable mention of a movie into 1997 because it was released on December 20th the previous year.
Okay.
Scream 2.
Yeah.
Scream 2 was like... Kevin Williamson, actually, now I appreciate it because he did a really smart thing. He removed them from Woodsboro. He brought them to a place that wasn't going to make the same movie again, but it was kind of a disappointing misfire at the time. Since then, I've gone back, and Jason, I know you watched it again, and I don't think you love it or like it that much, but there's some great stuff in that movie.
I liked it quite a lot when it came out. Like a lot. I like it less now, but I don't hate it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I'm sure I liked it, but it didn't live up for me. For anyone that doesn't know, Scream, I'm unreasonably in love with. So, and that came out like with 10 days left in 1996. So it belongs in 97 for me. Best picture. All right, go ahead. I'm joking,
but Jason, what else you got as far as a misfire?
God, I forgot. I Know What You Did Last Summer came out this year too. Jeez Louise.
Oh, this is when all the clones started to come out.
Nutso. I gotta mention American Werewolf in Paris.
Oh yeah.
We're talking about a sequel to a much beloved cult horror film. American Werewolf in London, yeah.
Well, but I mean, but did they? Was it written to be a sequel?
I don't know, but yeah, it obviously has the sequel title
namesake, yeah.
And that
but
was
it could be
letdown.
an in name only.
That was one of those where they were really trying to push the envelope on the special effects, but they didn't have the money, and it just looked really cheap. Julie Delpy is lovely in it.
She's lovely in everything she was in.
Yeah, that's about all I can say about it, though. That was a misfire for me, for sure.
I have an interesting misfire. I think you guys will think this at least, but it was a disappointment for me. What's that, Chuck?
No, go ahead. I was going to guess, but I won't.
Well, no, go ahead. Go ahead and guess.
Is it The Jackal?
Oh my God, that movie was just fucking stupid. No,
it should have been good though.
It could have been good.
Didn't Costa Gavras do the original one? Day of the Jackal, was that him or no? That was someone else. Was it Frankenheimer who made the original one?
I don't remember. Sorry,
but that's okay. The Jackal is bad.
Yeah, the Bruce Willis. That one's bad. No, my misfire that oh wait, Chuck, you raised your hand.
I have a better guess, but I'm not going to say it because it's from a director that you love. But go ahead.
No, the one I'm going with actually is just a more of a letdown, slight disappointment. That was Tomorrow Never Dies. I thought it was a kind of one of the lowest grade technical wise Bond films. It uses very bad slow motion and scenes that it's not shot for slow motion, so it looks really obvious. But the funny thing is, it has one of the very best opening pre-title sequences, and then it just feels like it feels more like a parody than it really does an actual attempt at a Bond movie.
Yeah. Like the Austin Powers of a Bond movie.
Well, not really. It's just
I know that's not that far into the muck. But.
Yeah, I mean, like it seemed like Roger Spottiswoode just says like, "Oh, these are the things that need to be in a Bond movie, and I'm going to constantly wink at you for this." And right. Jonathan Pryce needed to dial it back just a tiny bit, and he would have been a much better villain. And as I've always said, Michelle Yeoh deserved a million times better as that character that she played, because she was actually one of the bright spots in that movie.
Yeah, we talked about this last time we watched that one, Jeff, that the love story, like the chemistry between those two is so wrong, and they really, you could just tell it's forced the whole time.
They should just be partners,
right?
And then they're making out at the end. It's like you didn't earn this. You didn't. Earn it.
It's ugh. Yeah,
because I didn't think of her as that typical Bond girl. She was a partner to him. She was an equal to him.
Right.
So anyway, disappointment.
100% disappointed. I gotta throw out Lost World, Jurassic Park 2. I feel
that was another one on my list. That was a disappointment.
It's a disappointment. It's not a very good movie.
It's better than the last two Jurassic movies.
Agreed.
It's probably better than Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But the one thing it is, more so than the others that I just mentioned, is a disappointment.
Oh man, I gotta throw John Singleton's Rosewood as not a disappointment, but as another one that I forgot to put on my list. That's a good movie.
Chuck, what other disappointments do you have? Was there anything in life that was disappointing? What about Mr. Magoo starring Leslie Nielsen? That had to be a disappointment.
My God, yeah, that I didn't even. Oddly, it played in our theater, and I didn't even bother watching it.
I did like Spy Hard, though.
Oh yeah, Spy Hard is pretty funny. The Dracula one, Dead and Loving It, I think it's called.
I did not like that one at all.
No, it's stupid, but it's kind of funny.
No,
did
I hate
come
that
out
one.
97?
No,
Dracula?
I don't think that one did.
No, but yeah.
I mean, Spy Hard didn't either. So
Jeff went off.
Yeah, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know about. For me, and I've talked about this on the show, like directors and movies and all that stuff. Like I was just a watcher in the 90s. Like I didn't have an attachment to anyone necessarily, so I was never really disappointed by anything. Like there's movies I wanted to see a lot, like the Godzilla. That wasn't 97 though, was it?
No, that was 98.
Yeah, okay, I mean you're off. So there was a few movies, I'll see if I can find others in 97 that I was super excited about. Like you've already mentioned Resurrection. I was excited about that movie and did not like it.
What about Spice World? Were you disappointed by Spice World?
No, actually, that was pretty good. That lived up.
that lived up to the exact expectation that you had.
Yeah, Posh was amazing in that. I was a little disappointed in Baby Spice's performance, but what are you going to do?
I never saw it, but for those of you who did, was Fierce Creatures a disappointment?
No, Fierce Creatures is
it's a sort of sequel to Fish Called Wanda.
I think we talked about this on A Fish Called Wanda. I don't think I'd ever seen it.
I know it got. I
I don't remember it.
It got dinged up pretty bad with critics, I believe.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, Fish Called Wanda, that's an amazing movie.
Yeah, maybe we should
check out our episode that we talk about it. Yeah,
maybe someday we'll do the movies of 1988 or 7 or whatever year that
it was 88, I think. Yeah.
Trying to think, there was one other disappointment that I was thinking about that was not the Spice Girls.
While you're thinking of that, do you know it?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, since I worked in a theater and this movie came out this year and we've not really talked about it a lot, the greatest promotional cycle for a movie ever, in my opinion, was this year, and it was The Fifth Element. Because nobody knew a goddamn thing about that movie, but everyone was blown away. Do you guys remember the trailer of just the five floating up and looking all sci-fi and shit? And there was so much buzz. Maybe the Blair Witch is probably one that's bigger later, but at the time it was like everyone went nuts about the Fifth Element.
I think the thing is about the Fifth Element was that it gave us something to get excited about, whereas Blair Witch was a word of mouth excitement. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I remember, word of mouth for sure from the movie, but they also were heavily heavily.
Oh well, they were trying
telling
to
us
they were
that it was
trying
a
to
true
build a lore.
story.
Yeah,
Right.
they were building a lore, but it took people like we weren't seeing that in the trailer. We were being told that by people who somehow learned about it somewhere. And
No, they said it in the trailer. I'm pretty positive they said it in the trailer that it was a true story.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But that's neither here nor there. That's not 1997. But The Fifth Element was like, that was like something people were going nuts over. Like they'd be leaving movies and talking about the trailer for The 5th Element, which is wild to me.
No, I mean it's a good looking trailer.
No.
There is one movie that for the longest time would pop up in conversations I had with one of my best friends from high school. The movie Rocket Man. Did you ever see that?
Oh,
movie?
I saw that with
Harlan Williams.
Harlan Williams.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we saw that movie and we weren't drunk. We weren't on anything. We just went and saw and we laughed our fucking balls off at that movie. And we like at one point in time, I think my buddy Andy couldn't remember what the name of the movie was. So he called it Space Dork. So we always just referred to it as Space Dork. And the whole fucking thing where he farts in his spacesuit and it goes down the tube to Sadler, William, because it was William Sadler.
William Sadler
in the other spacesuit fucking kills me.
Yeah, I think that movie has like the spirit of like, or Hot Rod has the spirit of that movie, but in
of Space Dork.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the awards?
Yes, and I just remember my other disappointment. Sorry, real quick, just going to throw this out there.
It's a me, isn't it?
It's a you. No, it's Speed 2. That movie sucked. That movie sucked.
I didn't expect a lot of that movie, but I totally understand because Speed was like at the very least a decent action movie.
Oh, it's excitement. It was so exciting. Boats aren't as fast as buses.
No,
speedboats are, but
not cruise ships.
Not cruise ships.
Well, I mean, the bus only went like 55 miles an hour, didn't it? I can't remember.
Yeah, but I mean, but you're dealing with traffic, whereas a boat is like on a fucking ocean.
Oh no, turn! There's an iceberg. Oh, no, that's the best picture from this year.
Oh man,
that was a good segue. You guys should give me more credit for that.
I give you all the credit in the world there.
So what should we start with? Do you guys have any like strong opinions? I'm sure all of us would pick a different best picture.
Well, I'm picking. If I had a vote, it would be L.A. Confidential, hands down. I really don't. I didn't ever have an issue with the nominations. But by the time the Oscars rolled around, you got awfully tired of hearing about Titanic. And I will always stand by the fact that I absolutely understand why Titanic won Best Picture. It's an event. It's an event movie. And sometimes those just went out, and, but to me, it was, I mean, I think the only movie I wouldn't have voted for over that would have been the Full Monty, even though I liked Full Monty.
Yeah.
I mean, I was far more invested in LA Confidential. Good Will Hunting is, I mean, you can get emotionally bonded to that movie. And as good as it gets is Jack Nicholson being Jack Nicholson to the Jack Nicholson-ness.
I have not seen that movie in a long time. I don't know if it would hold up for me.
You're probably
Best Picture. I don't even think it really deserves. Like 7 Years in Tibet probably should have gotten the nomination, right?
Well, most people thought that the nomination belonged to Boogie Nights.
I would have nominated Boogie Nights for sure.
Because As Good as It Gets is like a performance-based movie, right? The story is not that special.
No,
There's
it's not.
Cool
it's
stuff
it's
like Greg Kinnear's like character arc is like, you don't see that kind of. You were talking about, chasing Amy earlier. That's another like character arc you don't see a lot in movies, especially in the mid 90s.
Well, yeah, this was the era in which, you know, there were a lot more gay roles out there, and in movies that featured also a lot of heterosexual characters that would appeal to a wider audience. I mean, this was just the year before or whatever was Tu Wong Fu.
Oh man, you know what else was this year in that vein that I bet is so cringy is In and Out.
Oh, that was exactly where I was headed. Yeah, it's like In and Out was a movie that was a huge hit. You know, so it's like but it's, you know, so yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like the Great Kinnear character is an interesting character in a movie where he's got to deal with his really fucking awful, grumpy neighbor, you know. But
who learns something by the end.
Exactly. And but yeah, I agree. I mean, maybe it's not really probably it's the James L. Brooks of that got it to a Best Picture nomination. So I don't know.
Even then, I kind of, the age gap always kind of creeped me out too. That's like over like a 25-year age gap or something like that
between Helen Hunt and
and I just never really bought it.
It is Helen Hunt, right?
Yeah, it's Helen Hunt.
I don't know. It's Jack Nicholson though.
So take out.
Fair enough, but
so
I mean, at that time he was with Sherilyn Fenn for years.
Yeah,
maybe still is today.
Ooh. Boxing Helena, did that come out in 97? Sorry.
No, that was earlier.
So we all agreed probably LA Confidential wins Best Picture that year.
Yeah, I would have still voted for Jack Nicholson just because.
And it wasn't Sherilyn Fenn; it was Laura Flynn Boyle.
That's it. I knew it was one of those.
Right.
They're interchangeable in my brain.
I'll drop my ooze then. I like Laura Flynn Boyle, but she's no Sherilyn Fenn.
Agreed. Agreed, sir.
No, I would have voted for LA Confidential. I would not have booed Titanic winning. Titanic deserved its Best Picture nomination just from the money it made, just like Forrest Gump did 3 years before.
Okay, but this is not like a popularity vote, right? Like I understand what you're saying, but the fact that it made money should not make it a best picture.
But I mean, but historically, the biggest moneymaker of the year usually got a Best Picture nomination.
Well, here's something for you. I know that Jeff is a big proponent of if it wins Best Picture, it should also win Best Director, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Usually. This is a year.
No, not usually, all the time for me.
All the time for you?
All the time for me.
It's not always for me. And this would be a year where I would agree with Cameron winning Best Director. That's a massive movie. It's an action movie. It's a melodrama. There's a lot going on.
It's a special effects movie,
and it all comes together in a perfectly packaged product that is really hard to pull off.
And he got the length he wanted, and his entire career. People don't remember that. It was supposed to come out in the summer.
Yeah,
and it got pushed, and then we started to find out how much it cost. And people thought that this was the end of his career.
Yeah.
And then it became the highest grossing movie of all time.
So I would say, yeah, he deserved the Best Director win. I have no qualms with it.
I think that is the better choice between the two. Like directing, yes, picture, no, in my opinion. But alas.
But yeah, I agree with you, Jeff. LA Confidential would have been my pick for Best Picture.
Yeah.
And Boogie Nights was snubbed.
Boogie Nights. Boogie Nights didn't get nominated. Real quick, let me pull up the 2020 awards for that year for the Best Picture, because we've talked about the 2020 awards before, where 20 years later they will look back at an Oscar year and reassign nominations and wins. Their pick for Best Picture was Boogie Nights.
Interesting.
their I got to find Best Picture. It's not in order. Their nominees were Boogie Nights, As Good as It Gets, Good Will Hunting, L.A. Confidential, and The Edge.
Oh, interesting.
The Edge was Best Picture nom?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, it's a hell of a movie. I don't know if it's Best Picture. I mean, maybe if it were the 10, the extended like we have now, I could see it slipping in.
Sure.
But
I don't actually like the
top five's tough.
Yeah, I don't actually like the expanded. But anyway,
the expanded what?
The expanded.
Oh, the
Best
expanded
Picture,
format.
yeah.
Really?
Like 12 films or whatever. Yeah.
Right. It's whoever gets 20% of the vote, or like their ranked voting or whatever they do.
Honestly, I think that's a little more probably logical way to do it because. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Never mind.
Their best director nominations were Paul Thomas Anderson, who they picked to win, Curtis Hanson, Gus Van Sant for Good Will Hunting, James Cameron, and James L. Brooks.
Oh, as good as it gets. Yeah.
Good Will Hunting's the one that I watched the most recently of these movies, and
even more recently than L.A. Confidential.
I just watched.
Yeah, he just watched it like a few,
or whatever, like a few nights ago. The one thing I will agree with 1,000% is Robin Williams as best supporting actor in a supporting role.
Oh yeah.
Robin Williams is so good. Like he still amazes me when I watch his movies. Like his facial expressions relay more to me than anything he says, and that's like for me like a rarity.
Yeah,
with actors to be able to be that in tune with what they're trying to tell you without hearing what they're saying is pretty wild.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but I feel like Stallone should have gotten some love for Copland in one of the acting categories.
Yeah,
he was good. He's very understated though. Like I remember that I watched in the last few years. He's very understated in that role. And like you said, he's against type. So
he's a schlub. He's playing schlub.
It's almost weird.
Yeah. But he plays it well. It's convincing.
Oh, he absolutely
that's why he's so damn good in Creed is that he's playing kind of against his Rocky Balboa boxer type. He's playing the schlub, and he's best when he's playing those types of characters.
Yeah.
What's funny, the 2020 awards, their best supporting actor category, you got Robin Williams, who they did not pick to win. And then you have the quartet from Boogie Nights, Don Cheadle, John C. Reilly, Burt Reynolds, and their winner, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Of course, Seymour Hoffman would win.
I mean, he was great, but I don't know. I mean, I think Burt Reynolds' nomination for the Academy Awards is a little weird to me.
I was just about to say that.
I would take Hoffman over Reynolds for sure. Yeah.
Burt Reynolds was great, but it's not like I don't know. Even Philip Seymour Hoffman, he's mostly just really funny in that movie and depressing,
or just playing awkward. Yeah. It's not like a ranged performance,
No, but his half shirts kill me like the
entire movie. Well, he's basically playing Matt Stone from Orgasmo in that movie.
He really is.
He totally is.
Without saying the lines.
Yeah. But I think Depeche Mode's a pretty sweet band.
That movie.
And they're both playing like key grips. It's like it's the same character.
That movie is so legendary. Oh my god.
So the let's see here, who they have for. Okay, so Kim Basinger won for L.A. Confidential. Is
that leading or supporting?
That was supporting. Yeah, leading actress was Helen Hunt. Which is funny because aside from Kate Winslet, everybody else were in movies that nobody went and saw.
Yeah, I think I saw Afterglow, but man, I don't remember it, and I definitely don't think I saw The Wings of the Dove or Mrs. Brown.
Yeah, I would have seen the title, The Wings of the Dove.
Those are heavy hitters, though. I mean, Helena Bonham Carter, Julie Christie, Judi Dench. I mean, geez,
Yeah,
I've seen all of actress in a supporting role, and I think I agree with Basinger. Although Julianne Moore was excellent.
Yeah. I was gonna say she could rival it for sure.
Well, here's the 2020 awards nominees. So they give Julianne Moore the win.
Of course
give
they do,
Boogie Nights everything.
apparently they're all up on Dirk Diggler's schlong and that.
Right there's a lot to hang on there.
They're taking all 13 inches in.
Right. But their other nominees, the only other one that also got nominated was Joan Cusack for In and Out. The rest of the nominees were Cameron Diaz for My Best Friend's Wedding.
Weird.
Wow.
Sigourney Weaver for The Ice Storm.
Okay, I can get behind that.
And Janine Garofalo for Romeo and Michelle's High School Reunion.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Huh.
There's another.
Garofalo she's actually
we talk about this in a couple weeks, but Miss Pam Grier, baby.
Well, they picked her for Best Actor.
Do they?
They picked her for Best Actress.
Yeah, she'd be
actress, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had her winning over Jodie Foster for Contact. Helen Hunt, As Good as It Gets. Judi Dench, Mrs. Brown, and Kate Winslet. Titanic.
I can't argue with Jodie Foster in there either. I mean, what a performance, and honestly, what a trailblazing performance in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's a woman
for
in
women leads. Yeah, exactly.
I will say with actress in a leading role, Helen Hunt is fine, but the one takeaway I had from Titanic was Kate Winslet. She's still
awesome.
She's awesome like everywhere, but
she's still an extremely classy lady that I would like to
get to know,
hang out with. Yeah, she's awesome. You should watch if you haven't watched.
Make do patty cake with
her new show.
Sure, draw like those French women.
Yeah, you want to make clay bowls with her and say ditto, and hopefully not die after. Anyway. She's great in her new show too, which I cannot.
The Mayor of Easttown. Yeah.
Yes, she's great in that.
Yes, she is. Well, she now owns the world record for holding the longest time holding your breath underwater during the making of a movie. She broke Tom Cruise's record.
What movie? Not
Avatar.
Titanic. Oh.
Avatar. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Never mind.
It's something crazy, like 7.5 minutes or something like that.
I would die.
Yeah.
I would not even get in the water to begin with.
At
I'd
the
be
same
like, "Fuck
time,
you, Jim
like
Cameron."
7.5 minutes total, or
yeah. No, like in a row, all those minutes and seconds in a row underwater, no breath.
I wonder how long Tom York did it for No Alarms and No Surprises, because that was a long time.
But that song isn't even that long.
No, I know. But I'm sure her scene in the movie isn't 7.5 minutes underwater.
I don't know, but she was underwater for 7.5 minutes without air.
Possible. That's not possible.
It is. She did it.
Wow, Kate Winslet, you're amazing. I give you all the awards.
It's crazy.
I give her all the awards.
7.5 minutes.
Real quick,
Tom Cruise is going to be like, "Fuck that! I'm going to get my record back."
That fucking Tom Cruise jumped out of a fucking plane yesterday.
Did he yesterday?
Yes, he. It was.
Did he land on a couch?
Was he holding his breath?
No, he was telling everybody Merry Christmas. Seriously, he. What was it for? My dad and I were watching it. I don't remember if it was at the. I don't know if it was during. No, it was. It was. He was advertising that on Thursday on Paramount Plus you can watch Top Gun, and so he was advertising it by jumping out of a plane and telling everybody Merry Christmas. And it was like during like the World Cup final or something. I can't remember, but yeah, I was like, "This."
I was watching that and I didn't see that, but whatever.
Or maybe it was later during the football game, but because yesterday 2 things happened. They advertised the fuck out of Top Gun Maverick coming to Paramount Plus, and they advertised the fuck out of Oppenheimer during the Sunday night game. So anyway, but yeah, so so he jumped out of an airplane. Kate Winslet, balls in your court. Anyway,
new gauntlet throw.
But speaking of Titanic, real quick, best supporting actress nominee, old lady, Gloria Stewart. In 1933, she was the girlfriend to the Invisible Man.
Yeah.
So how about that? That
How
goes
about
back
that?
a ways.
We just watched that movie.
Yes, we did.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
In the spooky season.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, is there any technical category that you disagree with Titanic winning? There's one that I would give a little bit of
Cinematography, maybe.
Over what though?
I don't know. LA
Well,
Confidential
LA
looked really
Confidential,
fucking
yeah.
good. Boogie Nights looked really damn good.
It's been a while since I've seen either Kundun or Amistad, but I imagine those are probably look pretty damn good.
Amistad did look really damn good.
Although I'm sure Amistad looks all like glowy and muted because it's Janice Kaminsky. But Roger Deakins Kundun, I imagine, is probably pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know though, but yeah, the Confidential looks great. But I don't know. It's hard to go against Titanic probably.
There is one technical, and it's only for one scene, and Jason knows exactly what I'm about to say. In the sound category, the opening of Contact is one of the most memorable experiences I ever had in the theater.
Yeah.
As it was backing up through going through time with the transmissions from Earth. That's fantastic.
Yep.
I remember that. And then I remember 30 minutes of silence almost in that movie.
Oh, at the end?
However long it is.
It's a long time at the end. Yeah, where it's silent. Yeah. It's like it was an inverse. Yeah.
That's a beautiful looking movie too. Yeah.
The only other one, which of course was never going to have a shot at beating the Titanic nomination, I would have voted however many times I would have needed to for Miss Misery to win Best Song.
Oh yeah.
That's a song I still love to hear today. Like right now, if I heard that song right now, I'd be very happy.
It is an objectively better song than My Heart Will Go On. I'm just gonna say it.
Right.
But man, My Heart Will Go On was just like, God, fucking juggernaut.
It's impossible to talk about 97 without thinking about how much of a juggernaut that movie was.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I didn't work in a theater after 97, maybe some of 98, but I don't remember any movie having the staying power that Titanic did. And I think you alluded to that, Jeff, with the 13 number ones and whatever, but it was, I mean, regardless of what you think of that movie, it is a monster accomplishment for anyone involved.
Insane. Well, and one thing I will say for the art direction for Titanic, I will give a big thumbs up to Peter Lamont. He did a ton of James Bond art director and set decorator stuff. So
really, it's just the story that falls flat for me. It almost takes me out of the whole entire movie. Everything else looks good. It sounds good. It there's zero wrong with it from any perspective other than story, in my opinion. I used to tell people when they walked in that the ship
the ship
crashed.
Sinks. Yeah.
Ship sinks. When I tore their tickets. I was such an asshole when I was 20.
Weren't we all though?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
What won Best Animated?
There was not a category then.
Yeah, I don't think it exists.
Did they have Best Animated Short Film, but not Best Animated Feature?
That didn't happen until I think 2002 or 3.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, that's a category that either Disney or Pixar has won every time, I think, except for 2.
Yeah.
Miyazaki won it once, and of course the Spider-Man movie.
Was it Spirited Away that won it for Miyazaki?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, interesting. I don't know about editing either, but yeah, probably.
I have no more thoughts on 1997, at least right now.
I have one thought that I would like to end with and wrap up my side of the conversation of 1997. And that is, how much I wish that I knew what I know now and I could be 20 years old again. That would be great. That would be great.
Well,
I don't know, man.
I don't know, man. Machine.
Like, think about all the wonder you had at that time in life. You'd have none of it if you know what you know now.
Well, that's like fair. But
that's what made those times so great, is experiencing things in my opinion.
But there's two things that I would have. One, I would still have a copy of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And two, I would have good Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah, and I'd have hung on to my Kenner Luke Skywalker
for another 20 years.
Well, I would just continue to ask, what does that mean? There's a spider on my head.
Nothing to lose. That's something that I'm sure someday we may get around to on this.
That is fun. That movie probably made me laugh the hardest.
Oh my God!
That any
moment.
movie,
yeah,
in 1997. Yes,
it'd be hard. That scene, like that,
the Scatman scene with the spider. Yeah,
it's one of the funniest things.
Dying. I think I'm.
Did I see that with you? I feel like you and my brother might have saw that in the theater.
I think maybe. I don't remember. But I remember. I ended up getting a VHS copy of it, and we wore it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, Steve Odenkirk.
Yep.
What's next?
Hey, you know what? Next is New Year. We have a brand new year coming.
Yeah.
And we're gonna stick around in the 90s for a little bit longer. How's that sound, guys?
I like it.
You feeling nice and nostalgic for the 90s?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because we're gonna do a month of 90s movies.
Sweet.
In January, and we're going to kick things off with the movie with the final movie from the guy whose death 3 months before the movie came out is what Jason and I bonded over as we commiserated one Sunday night at the video store, and that is we're going to talk about rather Eyes Wide Shut, the final film from Stanley Kubrick.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just betting that we have a lot of opinions about what goes on in that movie. Lots to say about
it. It's our late Christmas present to you.
Yeah, it is.
It's Nicole Kidman's naked ass in the first 5 seconds. Merry Christmas.
Pinch your nipple.
Yeah.
Pinch your titties.
That is a hell of a Christmas present.
That's staying in. All right. So that is next week. Now, the places to go to find our episodes of stuff is filmseizure.com. But you can follow us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We even have one of those Mastodon things, but if we promote it on Twitter, where it is, you get your shit deleted. You get your shit canceled.
No, let's not bring that shit in. Come on.
Well, I'm just saying, I can't promote it, so that's the only way I can promote it is by talking about it. Anyway,
Mastodon. I got you. Sorry, misunderstood.
So anyway, so that is where you can find us. You can follow us there. You can find out when things happen. Wednesday mornings, that's when the new episodes of Film Seizure come out. But on Monday afternoons, I also have Monster Mondays, all those same places. And on January 2nd, to kick off the new year, I'm doing episodes number 3 and 4 of Ultra Q, the Japanese X-Files of sorts, the long precursor to X-Files. And it is just a lovely little show. Monsters, Japanese monsters, fun times. So that both of those things are over at filmseizure.com. In addition, you can go check out my New Year's review at bmovieenema.com. I am talking about 1983's Get Crazy. Fun little musical comedy action kind of farce sort of. Good stuff. Good. Actually, a really, really good movie. I know Jason's borrowed that from me. Hopefully he's enjoying that.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but it's on
I bet you enjoy it. I bet you enjoy it.
I think I will.
I mean, Sparks does a song in it, so it does a theme song. So
it's so great. It's great.
Anyway, so that's at bmovieenema.com. But anyway, next week, Eyes Wide Shut, talking about nudity. We're talking about sex parties. We're talking about cults. We're talking about whatever. And we're mostly going to talk about Stanley Kubrick. So until then, I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I'm Rollo Tomasi.
I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.